She wears old-fashioned clothing, and she has her handbag in front of her. And she's digging through this handbag. She appears to be a little frustrated, trying to find something. Like, lost something. Well, so when people see her, apparently frustrated, trying to find something, they'll approach her and say, "Well, ma'am, can I help you with anything?" She'll look up from her handbag. She's like, "Oh, no, thank you. I'm just trying to find my keys." Just turn back towards the door and promptly disappear right through it. This is Miss Theodora. Miss Theodora, she was an employee at the Baker Hospital back in the 30s. What exactly her job was, we don't know for sure. But she must have been someone, we think, high up in the administration, maybe a head nurse, something like that, because a lot of the employees lived here up here on the 4th floor back then. But Norman Baker, his apartment was directly above us here, number 502, one of the penthouse suites. This stairway wasn't there. Now, so it was his third hospital, which I said before. Let's just say he had a lot of dissatisfied customers over the years. Some of them, most of them were dead. so their families weren't very happy about it. But anyway, so he was trying to, kind of lay low a little bit in Eureka Springs towards the end of his career. So we think then he must have trusted Miss Theodore pretty well, because she lived right below home. She could hear a lot, because whatever he was up to, so we think she was a trusted employee. Now, we don't see her as an apparition anymore, except for when we see her out here in front of the door. But if you stay in the room before 19, I forgot to ask, do I stay in the hotel tonight? Well, so if you're staying in the room before 19, some of our guests, they tell us that Miss Theodora stays with them. They don't see her, but they get the benefit of her help. She's very organized, very she's almost OCD. She likes to take care of her guests. So when people tell us that, they'll say that they'll come back from the day of walking in Eureka Springs, they'll come up to their room, check the room, up their shoes, they'll dump their pockets on top of the dresser. Maybe they'll go to the shower, so they'll take off their clothes, go to the floor, or go to the bed, or go to the shower. When they come out of the shower, they tell us that they find their shoes have been lined up in a nice little row in front of the bed. And the stuff they dumped on top of the dresser, well, it's all organized for them. Even the coins have been stacked by denomination. Those clothes that they dropped on the floor or tossed in the bed, well, they've been folded and put away. Miss Theodora, she's very, organized. Really likes to take care of her guests. If she likes them. She doesn't like all of them, apparently. There's a story here among the staff. It's been a few years, but a couple came here to get married. And we do a lot of weddings here, of course. And so they were going to be married the following day, and they checked into room 419. They unpacked their bags. They hung their wedding clothes in the closet. And they settled in for the evening, and as the evening went on, well, maybe some pre-wedding jitters set in. They got a little nervous. Something set them off. Anyway, they began to argue a bit. Y'all need to get through?
Is this a ghost tour?
It is.
Okay.
Do you have tickets? For what time?
8.
That's go back to that door where the sign is, and
okay.
They're next.
Okay.
Yes. So anyway, this couple they began to argue, and well, it became quite a shouting match. They were really starting to go at it. And so when they both realized this is no way to begin a marriage, so they agreed to go down to the bar and have a little drink, talk it over, try to work it out. And so they all went down to the bar, they have a little drinky poo, they work it out, they fall back in love, and they head back in the room. Now the modern door for the room is around the corner over here. So they go to the door, and they put the key in the door, it works just great, and they turn the knob, and it works just fine. And they have difficulty getting the door to actually open. It's like someone's blocking it. So of course the groom, he shoulders his way into the room. And when they get in, they find that their bags have been packed and put behind the door. But not everything had been packed. The wedding clothes had been taken out of the closet and tossed to a pile on the little floor. Apparently Miss Theodora had not blessed their union. Not too keen to have them get married. Now as far as we know, they got married and lived happily ever after. We know they got married. I don't know what the happily ever after part, but they got married. So Miss Theodora, she was not too keen on it. Maybe it was the argument that got her going. And of course, there's also this, that she is from the 1930s, a different era. She might have disapproved of being together the night before the wedding. That might have been what set her off. Who knows? But now, you may notice this door is a little unusual. It's not the modern entrance that I mentioned before. There's no doorknob, no number, nothing like that. It's all sealed off. And it's not because we ever locked up in there. This is because this was room 419 back in the 30s, all in one small little room. The modern door around the corner was a different room, also a small little room. Well, the rooms have been combined over the years to make a 2-room suite. So we just don't use this door anymore. It's just sealed off because the bed is on the other side. But Miss Theodora, the reason why we see her here is because this is why, this was her room. This was her door back in the day. So that's why she's always seen here trying to get into this room. If you see her out here in the hallway, she's always very pleasant, out here in the hallway. But if you're going to stay in the room, you should be on your best behavior. She's got a judgment. 1937. Excuse me. So when he gets here, of course, like I said before, the hotel had been closed for almost 3 years, so it was kind of a mess in here. You have the raccoons, everything. Well, even so, he got one heck of a bargain. He paid for the entire hotel plus the 27 acres it sits on. He got it for $40,000. Now he spent about $50,000 more to turn this place into his third cancer hospital. And it being his third hospital, he definitely had a system. He had a way of dealing with the patients that was unique. So what he did here, this hallway used to lead to a group of small rooms back there. And these were little rooms that were being used by the college for girls for their practice rooms for the music department. Those were built on the hotel in 1910 just for that purpose. So the college for girls could have some practice rooms. Well, what Norman did with those rooms, he goes back there and he blacks out the windows and he puts like a chair and a bed in each one of these rooms. And he installs a skilled little forced door here that's soundproof. And he calls this area, and he says it out loud, in front of the patients and everything, he calls it the asylum. Different word back then, what, I don't know. But so normally, his cure consisted of 2 components. There was the medicine part, which was secret formula number 5. And the other part of the cure was mental therapeutics. He was going to teach you how to use your mind to overcome your disease, to overcome your pain, your fear, which is not really bad news. I mean, the mind can be a powerful tool. But I want to remind you that his first job was as a vaudeville performer. He was the magician. He was the mentalist. He was the hypnotist. He was using that mind power, all right, just to take money out of wallets. And he kind of went that way for the rest of his career. But back to formula number 5. So formula number 5 was made of the following material: ground watermelon seed, corn silk, water, glycerin, peppermint, clover, and a dash of carbolic acid. So they get together with the staff, they make a big show of cooking this stuff up, and they filter it to distill it, do whatever, and then they would draw it into syringes. And what they would do with this material is they would inject it into the people. They would inject it into their bodies at the sites of their tumors as the cure. Now, Norman himself was not doing any of the injecting at this point in his career. This was, his third hospital. His first was in Muscatine, Iowa, his hometown. Now, up there, he was more hands-on. But he got in trouble for that. He was charged with a criminal count of practicing medicine without a license, which is one of the reasons why he left Iowa eventually. But so down here, he's just the administrator. But he's got some other people that he presents as the head doctor, and there's a man named Mr. Stadler. He was not a doctor either. But there he was, being the doctor. Now, they had real nurses, and I don't know if they were just very well paid or true believers. I don't know which, but I mean, they're the ones doing most of the dirty work. They're the ones, they had to be motivated somehow. So sometimes they're jabbing these poor people sometimes several times a day, and it could be a painful procedure. It could be kind of unpleasant. But without a real doctor, they were unable to actually procure real medicine like morphine, that kind of thing, if you're in pain. So if you're complaining of pain here, well, you could get aspirin and mental therapeutics. That was about it. It's kind of a difficult place to be. Well, so he had that. Norman had the 6-week guarantee. If you were still in the hospital after 6 weeks, dead or alive, you were bad for the guarantee. So most of the people, he would get them out of here with 6 weeks. Hey, you're cured. Go home. He'd say, hey, Ms. Smith, you look great. Your color's back on your face. Your tests are all positive. It's time for you to go home with your family. I'll take you down the train myself. So, he'd take them down the train and get them out of town before they died. That was how he treated most of the patients. But there were some people who came here who were just a little too close to death already when they came in the door, and he couldn't get them out, quickly enough. And so those folks, that's why he built the asylum. That's where they lined up. So people would ask, and the other patients that would notice, they'd ask, well, what happened to Mr. Jones? My neighbor, he didn't look so good yesterday. What have you done with him? Where is he? I say, well, he's fine. You see, Mr. Jones, he was having difficulty with the mental therapeutics, so we moved him into the asylum where he can have more privacy and quiet. We can work with him as an individual, help him perfect his mental therapeutics. He'll be fine. Of course, he died back then. And so people who are staying on this floor nowadays, sometimes they tell us that they are woken about 3:30 or 4 in the morning by the sound of a squeaking wheel going by their door. And so they'll open the door, see what's going on, and they tell us that they see a woman in a white nursing uniform. She's pushing a gurney down this hall. She the stairs straight ahead. She's got a sheet draped body on the gurney. She goes all the way down the elevator down there and just disappears. Now, the people who describe seeing this, they always describe it pretty much the same way, that she just does what she does. You can't distract her. You can't, get her attention. She just seems to be oblivious to anything around her. Now, some of the paranormal investigator people, they call this kind of a spirit, a residual haunting, or a recurring haunting. It's like a skip in the record of time or something like that, like a film strip that's on repeat or something along those lines. Well, it does coincide with the reality of the hospital days, because when someone did die, back in the asylum, and they had to get him down to the morgue. Well, the elevator is way down there. They couldn't push a dead body down the hallway during the daytime. That would be kind of bad for the business. So they would wait till 3:30, 4 in the morning and move these dead bodies down when no one's paying attention. So we think she's still doing her old job, still working for Mr. Baker after all these years. So we're going to leave her behind now. We're going to move forward in time, about the year 2000. So the Rennicks are here, the people at the hotel, and they've been remodeling the place. It's open. We're back to being a hotel, of course. They have been for many years, but now they're in town. They've been remodeling, and now they can start remodeling the old asylum. So they're trying to think, what shall we do with the old asylum? What else do you do with the old asylum? You put in honeymoon suites, of course. So room 3500 is one of them. The first night that it opens, they give that as a gift to the man who runs the hotel for us. He's still around today, Jack and his wife, Jack Moyer and his wife. They check in and settle in for the night, have a nice time. And Jack tells us the story later on. He tells us how his wife woke him up in the middle of the night, shaking. Jack, there's a woman in our room. And Jack's like, oh, honey, they had a bad dream. You're letting the ghost stories get to you. There's stories, don't pay attention to it. Relax, enjoy this gift. So he gets her calmed down. They go back to bed. And Jack says he wakes up a couple hours later, this time to the sound of his wife packing the bags. She's had it. I don't care if this is your hotel. I'm leaving. So he's a good husband. They go on home. They just live down the street anyway. And he didn't see anything. He's like, okay, whatever. Well, now not long after that, a couple comes down from Joplin, Missouri, and get married. And they get married here in the hotel. And they spend a couple nights night in the suite. They have a nice time. They don't report anything weird, no ghosts or anything. They check out, they thank you very much. We'll see you next year. And they go on home to Joplin. Well, about 3 days later, they give us a call, and they say that they just got their pictures back from their trip, and they've got to show us something. So they jump in their car and come back down that very day with this photograph to share with you guys. Now, this photo, a couple things you should know about it. One is that it was taken with a film camera, so they didn't see it. They didn't see it until they got it back from the development. The other thing about this photo, the lady in red in the middle of the picture is not the ghost. She is the young bride trying not to be seen in her underwear. We had to cover her up so we could use the picture. And now my fingers are going to point at the part of the image that caught their eye. If you look at the TV set there, there's an upside down image. See that okay? See that okay? It's kind of small. Sit down. I'm in the light. See it all right back there? Okay. Now they swear the TV was not on. They were just, she was modeling her lingerie there next to the bathroom door, and they were taking pictures, and they didn't notice it at the time. They didn't see it until they got the picture back. You see it okay? Well, we did like to remember looks, so we do have to get a rinse like that. So you can get she's wearing some kind of white. We call her lady in white nowadays. And we think she must have, may have been a patient here in the hospital. Yeah, picture.
There it is,
so we think, did you get a picture of the picture?
Yeah, I got it.
That happens a lot. But we think she might have been a patient here, and if you notice, her jaw looks a little strange, looks a little, misshapen or whatever. I mean, maybe it's just an illusion, but it could be that maybe she had some kind of surgery or something like that. It didn't happen here. Norman Baker's motto was cancer curable without knife, radium, X-ray, or serum. It was all about his cure. which of course was balderdash. But he sold it. He was good. He was a good con man. One of the best. Well, anyway, but we still hear about the lady and wife and some of our guests that stay back there, and they'll tell us pretty much the same story that they just when I woke up, and there was this woman standing at the foot of my bed, just staring at me. And she disappeared. So that kind of thing. So they don't stick around very long. They never say anything. And people talk about how the microwave will come on by itself back there sometimes, and the hot tub will come on by itself sometimes. I've heard about that in other parts of the hotel. These hot tubs come on by themselves. I'm just wondering, maybe the way to soak. Maybe you guys are a little tired. But guys, we're gonna head down the second floor now. And he was the son of the president of the College for Girls. His name was Richard Ryan Thompson. Sounds like Brecky. No, I was kidding. So Brecky, like I said, he was the son of the college president, Richard Ryan Thompson. His wife, her name was Mary Brecky. She was a nurse. She taught nursing and child welfare here at the school. They met here at the school. They got married in 1913. And they had Brecky in 1914. Just a little blonde-headed bundle of joy. They were very happy. They had a daughter not long after, but she only lived for a couple of hours. So Brecky, of course, was very precious to her. And so Brecky, he grew up here at this College for Girls. He had it made. It was wonderful for him. He had 80 big sisters to play with. And of course, they loved him. They knew him and spoiled him a lot. And as he got a little older, he had this ball he loved to play with. So he'd come down here to this area of the hotel, which was right around this sort of school, which was at the time the only dormitory area. So he'd come down here when he played with the girls. It was a lot of fun. He had a very life. But it was a short life also. He developed an intestinal infection. So he died a few days after his 4th birthday. It was kind of sad. Well, very sad, of course. It was a devastating blow for the family, and of course, very tragic for the girls here at the school for girls. Really, really dark and sad year for them. But Mary, his mother, in her grief, she decided to write a memoir about Brecky, and it was called Brecky His 4 Years. And in this memoir, she describes how they decided to have a séance, try to contact him. It may sound a bit strange to us, we don't do that kind of thing so much. That wasn't my first thought, when one of my relatives died, to have a séance. But this was 1918. I want to remind you guys that radio was this brand new thing, and there was all kinds of fascination with this unseen world of the airwaves. So seances were very popular at this time because they thought maybe we can, talk to dead people. They just didn't know. So, they bring in this medium. She does her thing, and she reports, oh yes, of course, I've talked to Brecky, and he's just fine. He's with his sister. Her name is Rose. He's with Rose. They're very happy. They have everything they need. You don't need to worry about it. So they got a little comfort out of that, I suppose. A little easier maybe. I don't know. But I suppose having a seance might leave the door to the other side cracked open a bit because Brecky, we still hear about him hanging around the hotel, still hanging around the school for girls. Y'all need to get out.
No.
What are they doing by my door? So Brecky's still hanging around here, and we hear about him, sometimes from guests like them that they don't seem to realize he's a ghost sometimes. They'll call down to the desk sometimes late at night. Every once in a while they'll call down to the desk and say, hey, there's a little boy on the hall. He's bouncing this ball around, and it's kind of late for that. He seems to have escaped his parents. There's no adult around. What do we do? So what does it look like? Well, it's blonde. It's a very talented job as it looks like. Oh, well, I guess fellas, he's gone. Okay, thank you. Brecky alert! Look out for Brecky. So we'll hear similar things. Little kids seeing a lot. They'll come to the front desk and say, hey, we're that kid is staying. We think he's staying here. They took him off. You know what we're talking about? What was it like? It's weird. Well, you see him again, just say, hey, Brecky. It's a ghost, kid. It's Brecky. They're okay, poof, off they go. So, the photograph upstairs that we have of Brecky. So we've only had that for about 5 years. We had a lady that worked on our staff she did research for the ghost tours for us, and also did a lot of research on the College for Girls. She found all kinds of cool stuff about the College for Girls. She wrote a lot of stories for the papers and stuff like that too. But so she found that photograph was one of the things. She found some ceramics that they all made. She found a couple of yearbooks worth of information. And they had a basketball team, the Crescent Comets. They won 4th place in a national tournament in 1931. Go Comets. So yeah. Now the same lady, she painted portraits, and 11 years ago, she painted 5 portraits of the Crescent Hotel ghosts. They're on sale in the lobbies of a little card set, and she painted these portraits based only on descriptions that she got from guests and staff who claimed to see these ghosts. Well, I want to show you guys the portrait she painted of who we then called the little boy. Okay, and as I show you this picture, I want you to remember that she would not see that photograph upstairs for at least 6 years. I've had this job for a couple of years, so I only bought this car a couple of years ago. My car that I bought only a couple of years ago, it says Brent on the caption because that's who it is. But 5 or 6 years ago, we didn't know who it was, so we just called him the little boy. All we knew was that there was, reports of a little boy ghost up here bouncing all around, and people said they were hearing us and muttering, "It's not fair, it's not fair." So after Rebecca found out the lady who worked for me named Rebecca Becker, after she found all that stuff about the college and the story of the family and everything, well, it just became obvious this is right. So it's kind of cool. It's really fun. We learn new stuff all the time. Guys, we're gonna head down the hall now. Michael. Okay, so Michael, this is room number 218. This is also known as Michael's room. Now, this is the most popular room in the hotel. It's said to be the most active room in the hotel, also as far as paranormal activity is concerned. And Michael was, he was a young man. He was an Irishman. He was a part of this family of Irish stonemasons that had come to Eureka Springs at the behest of the Eureka Improvement Company. They had just immigrated from Ireland. They were really glad to be in the new world, making some money with the family and working on this great hotel. So Michael, he was the youngest member. He was about 17 years old. Good-looking young man, very handsome, chiseled physique, worked with stones, very, very, very strong and fit, and very gregarious guy, very affable. He had he had a bit of a reputation. He was a bit of a ladies' man, or at least thought he was anyway. Like many 17-year-old young men, he thought he was something, and he'd always flirt with whoever he could find to flirt with, and he'd always trying to show off his strength and many talents. It led to his demise. What happened was one fine day he was working here at the hotel, and they were building the hotel. So you got to imagine that room construction here. So the stone walls outside are just about finished, and the interior here is all under construction still. A lot of posts and beams, scaffolding, sawdust, that kind of thing. So Michael, he's up there about 40 feet off the ground, up there on the wall, and he's doing his thing with the stones. And it's a nice day in Eureka Springs. He looks down on the grounds, and a young lady was walking on the grounds of the hotel. Well, he's got to get her attention. He's got to show off a bit. So he begins to holler down to her, "Hey, Leslie, hey!" She looks up, and he gets very excited about that. "Hey, Leslie, hey, look up here, it's Michael, it's me. Hey, how are you?" He's like, "Damn," he's struggling around there. "Hey, look at me." That's the best little trick up there. "Hey, look at me." Anyway, he loses his balance and he falls into the building. And hits his head on the beam here, that part of the tape, and that's where he dies. So it's Michael's room. As I said before, it's very popular. It's very popular with groups of ladies. They've heard about Michael, they've heard about his reputation, and they find out he's really all that, so they look at him. We get a lot of bridal send-offs, birthday parties, that kind of thing. And so what happens in this room is, I hear about most from the guests that tell us, what goes on in there sometimes. There's these French doors that open onto the balcony. And so our guests, they'll tell us that they'll be lying in bed, kind of snoozing or watching TV or whatever. And and all of a sudden they'll hear this click, click, click of these 3 latches that hold these French doors closed. And they'll look over, and these doors will swing open, and the curtains kind of middle into the room, and the lights might flash a little bit, the radio makes a little noise, and then there's this chest of drawers by the door, and they tell us that these drawers in this chest will open and close all by themselves. And so it's like this grand entrance that, Michael makes into the room. Now, after that, he does reserve most of his attention for females in the room. So, some of them, they'll feel somebody, kind of stroke their hair, a little, touch on the shoulder, a little hug, something like that. Well, some of the, ladies who are in there, they're like, hey, this is great. This is what I came for. It's why I booked the room. It's fantastic. You had to come Michael. Well, some of them not so much. Some of them come running out of the room. Touch me! And they're running down the hall. It's happened a couple of times. Some of them get a little more than they bargained for. They're not quite as happy as some of the others. So gentlemen get a little bit of attention. They say that they will feel someone's hand in their back as they go out the door. Or if they say that sometimes they'll be lying there in bed trying to get some sleep, they'll feel someone nudging them out of bed, and they'll look over their significant other and tell them to knock it off, and they'll sound asleep. So someone's shoving it out of bed. Michael, he's a bit mischievous. Everybody speak German in the crowd? Well, y'all heard the word poltergeist, probably, which is a German word. It's supposed to mean noisy ghost. But he's not generally noisy, but he's immature. He's still 17, I think. He's 37 years old. But he'll do things like, there's kind of a famous story on the staff here about this couple that came for their daughter's wedding, in this case, and they were staying in Eureka Springs. So the mother of the bride, she goes to bed, and she puts her dentures in the glass by the bed. When she wakes up the next morning, the glass is there, but the dentures are gone. So she's like, she's mad, search for the dentures, they can't find them. They go in the house, find my teeth, I have to go to my daughter's wedding. They can't find it anywhere. So this poor woman, she has to go to the wedding. She can't skip it, of course, because, so she's doing her best. She fixes her hair, she puts on her makeup, she puts on her brand new dress, she has for the occasion. And she's gonna leave the room now, so she has to, put on her shoes for the very last thing she can do. She sticks her foot in her shoe and pow, gets bit by her own dentures. They're in the shoe. So now, the only suspect in the room was her husband. I submit to you, no man would be that stupid. Well, stuff like that on his wife on their daughter's wedding day. So he blamed Michael, and so we certainly do too. And it's possible. I mean, things go missing in there all the time. I mean, they usually turn up if they're guests who understand things, but we lose cable boxes out of this room all the time. And I don't know why. It can't be the guests, because it wouldn't work, where they live. And so I don't know what's going on there. Maybe it's just done like TV. I really don't know. No one's ever actually seen an apparition of Michael, as far as we know. No one's ever reported that. But some guests, they say that they'll be shaving or doing makeup in the mirror or something like that, and in the corner of their eye, they'll see a face in the mirror, a man's face. When they look directly at it, it disappears. So you could think it's just imagination or whatever. But a lot of guests reported this, so I don't know if it's just for real or not. So if you want to book Michael's room, you got to plan ahead. It's very popular. Friends, follow me down the hall. We're gonna. Real quickly, that's the old asylum area here on the ground floor. This is your parents. This is where they put out buds. More benches over here. Lots of room over here for everybody. Don't want to sit with your family. This will be one over here. Chairs. Here's the chairs over there. So everybody benches. Everybody in? Is everybody? Okay. Here we go. Welcome to the morgue, my friends. So maybe the first and last time you ever hear that. So guys, on the wall over here, right above the slave's head, is a picture of Norman Baker. A little bit younger in that picture at the beginning of his career, and one next to it is a little bit older. He's more that age. I'm sorry, you're right. More that age when he was in Eureka Springs. But at the beginning of his career, you can see he was a handsome little guy. He was about 5'5". He wasn't a very tall guy, but he was always impeccably dressed, and he was quite a charming guy, and very intelligent. The inscription on the photo, it says, "I'm in this fight to the finish for all humanity." He's talking about his fight with the American Medical Association. They would warn people about Norman Baker and people like him. He wasn't the only guy in the 1930s selling fake cures, but he was definitely one of the best. He actually sued the AMA for slander. He did not win, but he took him to court over it. Which kind of backfired on him. So Norman, his first hospital was in the Fort Hospital in his hometown. He had a lot of his little business empires up there, and he had his radio station, his first radio station was up there, and he would go on that radio station at nighttime, and for those of us who might be old enough to remember AM radio, an AM signal at nighttime would go a lot farther than radio today. He'd go there at night, he'd make his little radio station at 5,000 watts, and he would talk about his cures for the cancer, he'd talk about his hospitals, he'd talk about how the AMA was out to get home, the amateur meat cutters of America, the last of the medical establishment. He was all about modern medicine's out to get you. I'm the guy. So he developed a little fan base over this radio station. Well, as far as the people in Muscatine were concerned, they weren't really big fans. They knew him all his life. And with another thing, these people, they had sent their loved ones to his hospital. They would go home and nothing. So he had some dissatisfied customers. He also had some upset people about some of his business dealings, that kind of thing. So he had some enemies in Muscatine. So one night, the concerned citizens of Muscatine, they put together a little committee that came up to his hospital, and they had a few guns with them, and they kind of shot the place up a little bit, to kind of give Norman a little warning. And then a little later that night, someone threw some dynamite at his radio station, trying to blow up his tower. So Norman took the hint. He left Iowa, but he left the whole country. He went down to Mexico at this point. On the Texas side of the border, he opens a second hospital. On the Mexico side of the border, he built another radio station. This one is 150,000 watts. The call letters were XENT. It was so powerful, at nighttime, you could hear it in the Aleutian Islands. And so he became very famous as the voice of nighttime radio in the 1930s. He'd be on the air at night, again, talking about his hospitals, talking about his cure for cancer, blasting the AMA, the medical octopus, you call it, all that. And again, he became famous. He became a lot of people fans, and then a lot of people heard about his cures in the hospital through his radio talks. Well, for whatever reason, he left Mexico pretty quickly. He just didn't really care for the political situation. I'm not sure why. But he came back to the United States, and that's when he comes to Eureka Springs. So when he gets here, it's 1937. The Great Depression still hasn't grip on the area. There's nothing going on. Everyone's out of work, and along comes this millionaire, Mr. Baker, and he's driving his fine, luxury car into town. He's going to buy the hospital. He's going to make it. He's going to buy the hotel. He's going to make it into a hospital, and he's famous. They've heard this guy on the radio. They've heard this guy talking about his cure for cancer on the radio. He is welcomed with open arms to Eureka Springs. He's a hero when he gets here. Now, on the back wall over here, so you may have seen already the cancer cure hospital sign in the back of the building. It's kind of neat. You can see that. Of course, nature is student work cure. Now, on the back of this door over here, we have one of the brochures, a large copy of a brochure that we sent out. We sent out these huge brochures to mass mailings, and also people who answer the radio talk. And we painted this place in this wonderful hospital resort in the Highlands. It would have pictures of heard people, testimonials, and all that stuff on the inside. Here would feature all the fine points of this place. This picture here shows the weekly talking picture shows that Joe guests alongside the patients. Down here is Tone and String Billiards in the conservatory. The fine, the stately building, the wonderful views, the lobby, the wonderful dining halls. Everything was great. It was a great place to be. We went to the resort. It's a hospital. Well, it's probably more of a house of pain. The people that came here, these were people who were desperate. They had savings. People came, and he made between $1 and $2 million back then, running this place for 2 years. Cure for cancer was $1,000 a month, which was real money back in the 1930s. And people came, and they showed it out. Well, one of the things he used to do back here in hospital days, so people would come to the hospital and check it out, maybe a patient, or perhaps they're going to visit some loved one, something like that. So sometimes there can be some unpleasant noises, moaning and groaning, crying and screaming, that kind of thing. Norman didn't like that. It was kind of bad for the image. So, like the live phone, the music machine upstairs, he'd get that thing out. Put it in the lobby, put it in, fire it up. Well, that thing, it's got 2 settings, off and loud. It is super loud. So, I don't have the live phone, but I do have a YouTube with a thing, and we'll play a few seconds for you to give you a taste of it. I can't get them loud enough to do it justice, but I would like you to imagine, if you will, that you are one of these patients. You're lying there in the hospital, you're shut up before the fire, you're trying to be able to hear it, and all of a sudden you hear this. Well, what finally happened for me, after 2 years in Eureka Springs, he wore out his welcome. He was pretty bad about suing people. And so when people would talk bad about the hospital, he sued them for slander. So our local banker did not like this idea very much. And he was a man with some powerful relatives, one of whom was the Postmaster General of the United States at the time. And Harvey, it's gone out of my head, Harvey Ford. Right. So Harvey was the Postmaster General. So anyway, they decided to get rid of Norman Baker, and they would alert the Postmaster General that he was here in Eureka Springs, mailing out fraudulent brochures to the U.S. Post, which is a crime. So it's kind of like when they got Al Capone for tax evasion instead of murder, where they got Norman Baker for 7 counts of mail fraud. And on this wall is his first day of class photo at the Leavenworth Penitentiary. He spent 3 years and 3 months there as a guest of the state. He paid a $40,000 fine. Got out of jail, regained his fortune, and retired to a luxury yacht in Miami, where he lived out the rest of his life. And he died there in 1958. Anyone guess what he died from?
Cancer.
Cancer of the liver. So guys, we're going to step into the parts room now, if you like. Now, to burn the records. So they did. And there's a lot that we don't know about day-to-day operations around here. What we do know, we've learned from his brochures, from his biography, his court cases, from the trial, of his, after they were, that's how we learned about the $4.5 recipe, it kind of backfired on the suit somebody, and the nurse was deposed, she had to eat about this recipe. So, that kind of stuff. But so, by looking at our local mortician's records, though, we can determine with pretty good confidence that 42 people actually died on the site, on the hospital records. Most folks, he would send them home, 6 weeks in my age, they would go home. And that's what they died there. Died on the way home sometimes in the train and all kinds of stuff. But so most folks got out of here. 42 died all in the hospital. Now, there are some folks who come to the hospital, they show up, take their money, give them the treatment, send them home, and they wouldn't die. So that's, was how Norman kept some of his reputation going too. It's hard to imagine how he got away with all this, but it was the 1930s, 40s, or late 30s, and so people were desperate, and cancer treatment and science was not as refined as it is today. And so it was just there was more of an advantage of radiation, particularly radiation treatment. People got burned all the time. show a before and after picture of this poor person with a big burn, and the burn is healed. But he would equate that with healing the cancer. Not the same thing. Healing the wound is one thing, curing the cancer is quite another. But for him, he was saying, hey, curing the cancer. So he was quite a compliment. One of the best. What drove him, I don't know. The guy had millions, but he kept it going. Well, there's one more thing I want to show you here, John Thompson. You could say this is part of the original equipment. It's this drain right here. So you can imagine what being going down that drain back then. It'd be kind of yucky. So I'm going to show you guys if it works. It works. Sometimes it works. Now, my ghost machine. There's a fuse box right over here. A hot wire fuse box. So it's going to go crazy. That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to do. And down in this room, it stays pretty hot. Really every day. And what sometimes happens is it gets down by this drain. Now, I was far away from